Richmond, Virginia is a great place. We have 1.2 million people that live in our region, and we're 2 hours south of Washington, D.C., and we're about an hour away from the Atlantic Ocean and about an hour away from the Appalachian Mountains. So we're a very diverse city and have a great active outdoor scene. The Sportsbackers mission is to inspire active living in all corners of our community, and we accomplish that mission by working with hundreds of area partners, by having fitness classes in low-income communities, by advocating for bike and pedestrian infrastructure, creating kids' run clubs at low-income schools all over the region, and having major sporting events to celebrate an active lifestyle. So our Let's Go RVA message is really kind of our shorthand for Richmond, Virginia is RVA. And so it's kind of the fun, cool way to say it. And Let's Go RVA is really getting back to trying to have more of a carrot approach to encouraging physical activity, which those of us in the sports world tend to do naturally. But people in the health world tend to say what's going to go wrong if you don't do something. They tend to use the stick approach, and that's not very inspiring or motivating. So most people don't want to be told you're going to get heart disease or diabetes if you're not active. That doesn't motivate or inspire anybody to change their behavior. So we wanted to have something that was a little more positive. So Let's Go RVA was trying to create a movement and trying to create positive. What's a real challenge for people that are working to get a whole community active is that there's been a lot of bad experiences. You know, I was fortunate enough to be an Olympian, and I loved gym class. I loved being active. That was the best part of my day. But there's a lot of people that's not the case. And gym class was something they didn't like, and there's kind of a built-in part of our community that sees active living as a negative, and they think of it as how good they are at a sports game or competition. And so turning that around and saying, you know what, you don't have to think of it as a competition. Walking your dog is physical activity. Having more bike and pedestrian emphasis, so it's easier to walk to a coffee shop or a restaurant. Having a way that it's easier to get around your community on a bike rather than by car. Having different ways that society's kind of built to be more active. And then making sure that everybody feels included. If you just have elite athletes, who look like elite athletes, then it's intimidating. So breaking down those barriers, coming up with ways that everybody feels included and there's a way for them to be involved. Those are kind of the secrets to get people moving on a community-wide scale. Yeah, so innovation is really important to staying relevant. During COVID in particular, we've had to really put in a very aggressive plan to innovate and create new product. We actually have a modified design sprint process that we actually use to create new events, and we go from an event concept to a product to test with consumers in a 1 week period. And it's very concentrated and very aggressive, and we've all been part of brainstorming meetings where 3 weeks later you go back and like, what did we talk about? But if you really jam them all together and you have decision makers in part of the timeline and you prearrange all those meetings, we were able to create new events within a week. So we have created 10 new events so far that are virtual events some have taken place and some are yet to come. And I think it would be great to show one of our videos of the Great American 5000, and you can see what we mean by creating a team concept. And we had 4,700 people take part this past summer, virtually running across the United States as part of teams. just saw the video of the Great American 5000, and we're certainly thrilled with that. And we followed that up with a Great European 2500, so a race across Europe. We also just put together in our marketing 7 marathons on 7 continents, and it's really fun. You would do this individually, and once you get done with one marathon, you bump onto the next one, the next continent, and you could just accumulate your miles, a few miles at a time, or you can do it full-blown marathon by marathon. So we're really excited about that one. The imagery is just unbelievable. And you get to run anywhere you want, right? You don't have to worry about getting permission or police or anything. So it really is a neat virtual concept. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because we have these program names and all these things that break everything out. But the biggest thing that I'm proud of is us switching from thinking of sports as an end in itself, instead of thinking sports as being a tool for motivating active living in our community. So we have 250,000 people in our database because they take part in our events. We now call those wellness celebrations. They're still events, and out in the public, each one, but sports is fun, it's exciting, it's something that gets people's attention, they get a lot of media. And so sports can be a great vehicle for getting people in. And what we did is we turned that upside down, and we said, once we get them in, they can be our advocates out in the community. We call it Active RVA, how we activate the whole Richmond region. And so that initiative to really think, kind of flipping it upside down, that sports is a subset of this active living movement, that was just a game changer for us. And for the past 9 years, that's what we've been working on. And it really changes why you get up in the morning. It changes how you think about the impact of your events in the community. Events are still really important, and I think there's a great way that we've done that. And one of the events that really works well for us in that format is our Dominion Energy River Rock. And we have a video to show of that, so you can see how active outdoor living is promoted here in Richmond through a sporting event. Well, I think, when you look back over history and you think of the Olympics and how they started back in ancient Greece, it was really the athletes were thought of as being close to godliness because of their giftedness. And so whether they were elite runners or wrestlers of the different sports, the ancient Olympics. And so they also really put on a pedestal top music performers and actors and actresses, and they made a big deal out of gifted people in their society. And it's kind of interesting because if you think about it that way, today we tend to think too much about the economic impact of an Olympics, or how much television exposure or world exposure, or we're going to put our city on a world map. And yet if we go back to that idea that Olympians are especially gifted people that motivate and inspire the rest of society to do things that maybe normal humans can't. And that kind of level of inspiration and motivation is one of the things with the video we just showed of River Rock. we have elite athletes. We have people who actually are Olympians and future Olympians, and rock climbing and kayaking and trail running and all these different sports. And yet we have learned how to try a kayak or get on a wall and go rock climbing. So you can have the inspirational and the entry level all at the same place. And I think with the Olympics, we have a real opportunity to be inspirational for society, to make a difference.